Welcome, gentle listener. I am Baldermort, and I wish to introduce you to the factions and forces of the Warhammer 40k universe. I am now taking this opportunity to present the Necron Crypteks. It is necessary for you to have at least a passing knowledge of them, so a future video that I am presently working on will make a lot more sense. So, let us begin. The Necrons are a race ancient beyond belief. They fought in a galactic conflagration that would make the confrontations of the 41st century look like skirmishes, and would boggle the mind and senses of any who presently wage what they think of as war. I shall go into this great confrontation in more detail in the future, but there are few fully known facts to relate. The true details of the war are now lost to the depths of time, and coloured by the whimsy and twisting of becoming legend. The Necrons of course know what happened, but they are not forthcoming with the details as of yet. Just know that the Necrons were, and still are, possibly the most technologically advanced race that has ever stalked the galaxy. Their skill, knowledge, and feats in this arena are second to none. Not even the mighty Eldari can approach their power when it was at its zenith. Although they have slumbered long millions of years, they are now awakening at a frightening rate. As they do so, they are only now beginning to rebuild and reveal their power. The clashes they have been in so far have been paltry matters to them. They have not even begun to properly show their majesty and marvels to the races of the Warhammer universe. Their technology is so advanced it would appear to breach every existing law that is known to humanity. It knows almost no bounds, and is wielded by the Necrons like a scalpel. When they do truly unleash their full power, there may be none who can stop them. I will now lean on existing wisdom to illuminate you as to the basics of the Cryptek, and to reveal two of their most important and talented scions. Then, at the end, we shall get into the meat of the matter. To quote, Crypteks. Crypteks are members of pan-galactic conclaves of technologists whose purpose is to study and maintain the eldritch devices of their race, the Necrons. They are masters of dimensional dissonance, singularity manipulation, atomic transformation and transmutation, elemental transmogrification, and countless other reason-defying technologies. In many ways, the Cryptek's powers mirror those employed by the psychers of other races, but with a crucial difference. Instead of using a mutant mind to channel warp energies, the Cryptek employs arcane science to harness the universe's fundamental forces. Every conclave specializes in a particular field of techno-sorcery, be it psychomancy, plasmancy, chronomancy, or any one of 100,000 other disciplines. The conclaves were originally founded to share information and expertise from one end of the galaxy to the other, but have since become fragmented and isolated. In the millennia since biotransference, Crypteks have become just as stagnant and fragmented as every other aspect of Necron society. Nowadays, the surviving conclaves are maintained out of force of habit more than any practical reason. Though Crypteks have no official rank in the political structure of a dynasty, they wield incredible influence. The Necrontier nobility was disinterested by the workings of the technology it employed, and this attitude has faded little with time. A Cryptek's power springs from this ignorance, and from the army of Cryptek spiders, wraiths, and scarabs under his control. Though few Necron nobles pay the idea much heed, a tomb world's countless systems require perpetual maintenance if they are to function at peak efficiency, and a slighted Cryptek is always willing to bring the cycle to a screaming halt should his betters require a reminder. Even the proudest overlord will muster an apology when his soldiers and weapons seize up. On occasion, a Necron overlord will go so far as to recruit an especially trusted and knowledgeable Cryptek to serve in his royal court, particularly in the case of the Ogdebek dynasty, where the Crypteks are possessed of a rare genius. Such a move can prove politically dangerous for the overlord, as this essentially elevates the Cryptek to the same rank as the Necron lords already serving there, and so fosters resentment. Nonetheless, having the Cryptek's worth of knowledge and expertise close at hand is more than an adequate compensation. Ultimately, the only thing that holds the ambitions of a Cryptek in check is another of his kind. Should a retained Cryptek rise too far above his station, a Necron overlord will attempt to replace him by luring a more tractable Cryptek away from the service of a rival. Even this has complications, for whilst no Cryptek will knowingly supplant another of the same conclave, a rival from another conclave will happily do so. Once his services are acquired, a Cryptek's duties stretch far beyond the tomb world. It is common for an overlord to grant a Cryptek the first pickings of precious alloys, power cores, and focus crystals in exchange for his services on campaign. Such a bargain serves both sides well. A tomb world's resources are limited, and the Cryptek's trade requires that he have a ready supply of raw materials. For his part, the overlord gains the full fury of the Cryptek's incredible techno-sorceries. With a mere gesture of his Staff of Light, a Cryptek can unleash bolts of searing viridian energy that melt through the thickest armor with ease. The Chronometron is another favored treasure amongst the Crypteks. This eye-shaped device can alter and shift the flow of time around its bearer, slowing incoming energy blasts and flying bullets to a crawl. To better observe the efforts of their rampaging creations, some Crypteks use canoptic cloaks to soar above the fray. Each of these techno-arcane shrouds is attached to a spider-like construct that generates a powerful anti-gravity pressure field, allowing its wearer to speed through the air. This item also has a remarkable secondary function, able to stitch together a damaged necrodermis with its supple limbs and focused radiation beamers. The technological marvels wielded by the Crypteks are the weapons of the gods, and only gods would think to stand against them. Illuminor Caesaras, architect of biotransference. The C'tan might have provided the knowledge for biotransference, but it was Caesaras who made it a reality. Even then, he saw it as the first of several steps on the path to ultimate evolution, a journey that would end as a creature not of flesh or metal, but as a god of pure energy. Until that day, Caesaras is driven to take full advantage of his android form. After all, no longer must he sleep nor deal with the thousand frailties and distractions to which flesh is heir. Caesaras labors to unravel the mysteries of life, for he fears that he would be a poor sort of god without such secrets at his fingertips. Caesaras has been on the brink of understanding for many centuries, yet somehow final comprehension always escapes him. Perhaps there are some concepts in the universe that do not reveal themselves before logic, or perhaps it is simply that to understand life, the observer must stand among the ranks of the living and not the undead. Whatever the reason, the truth is that the secrets of the soul will almost certainly lie forever beyond Caesaras' comprehension. It is a truth that he will never accept. Yet, at times, Caesaras must turn aside from his work and act in the interests of others. He requires a constant flow of living subjects, and the most efficient way for him to acquire such creatures is to trade expertise in exchange for captives. Though Caesaras is obsessed with the secrets of life, his aptitude for augmenting the weaponry and even the mechanical bodies of his fellow Necrons is peerless. Caesaras' delving into the form and function of so many disparate living creatures has taught him how to augment almost every facet of Necron machinery, a trait seen as distasteful by many of his peers. The dissection of Vusalan arachtoid compound eyes unlocked an improved array for targeting optics, and the molecular dissembling of chitinous ambelhide led the way to more efficient armor configurations, to name but two of many thousands of such advances. On occasion, Caesarus' talents are in such demand that he can name his own price, invariably a harvesting raid targeted against the world of his choosing. Above all, Caesarus cherishes Eldari subjects, as they inevitably produce more intriguing results than any other of the galaxy's creatures. However, few Necron overlords would deliberately transgress on Eldari territory for reasons other than solid military gain. So Caesarus finds such specimens the hardest of all to acquire. Caesarus inevitably accompanies the initial waves of such an attack, the better to pick and choose the subjects that will make up his payment and ensure he is not being cheated by his client. Once seized, Caesarus' specimens can look forward only to a pain-filled, though not necessarily brief, existence in the blood-stained and shadowed laboratory catacombs of Zantragora. Few of Caesarus' operations are carried out on the dead, for he believes the knowledge he seeks resides only in the living. Banks of stasis machinery keep the subject alive and aware throughout the procedures, though they do nothing to numb the terrible pain. The specimen's agonized screams are of no consequence to Caesarus, as he feels no kinship with such inferior beings. He simply shuts off his audio receptors until the repulsive noise subsides, watching impassively as his whirring tools carve the subject apart, molecule by molecule. Orican, the Diviner, Seer of the Necron tier. Orican is a consummate astromancer, able to calculate the events of the future from the patterns of the stars. Thus did he know of the fall of the Eldari, the rise of man, the Horus Heresy, the coming of the Tyranids, and the Great Rift many thousands of years before they came to pass. Through careful study and scrutiny, Orican can even divine lesser occurrences, the movements of fleets, the destinies of individuals, even the strategies undertaken by campaigning armies, events not important enough to reshape the galaxy, but the foreknowledge of which can dramatically change the fortunes of the beholder. Though they make use of his laborious studies, few amongst Orican's peers truly trust him. This is not altogether to do with his skills, for all crypteks are capable of techno-sorceries that defy belief. The unease that Orican provides is due chiefly to the mocking scorn with which he treats the nobility of every rank, and to the knowing gleam in his eye that implies he is party to a joke that no other can perceive. Many an overlord would dearly like to see Orican punished for this quiet insolence. However, not only is such a course of action impolitique, the benefits of being able to call upon Orican's skills greatly outweigh any offense caused by his manner. It is also almost entirely impossible. Orican knows the plans of his rivals and enemies long before they do, and it is child's play for him to exploit such schemes to his personal advantage, an alteration that, more often than not, involves a fatal outcome for the original plotter. A skilled astromancer though he is, Orican's predictions are not flawless. Unforeseen events can queer his calculations, altering, wiping out, and replacing his prophesied timeline. Warp travel is a constant aggravation, as its eddies and anarchies seem to delight in defying his predictions. Under such circumstances, to preserve his plans and reputation, Orican is forced to employ a closely guarded set of chronomantic abilities. Travelling backwards down his own timeline, he emerges in the past at a point which he can set his prophesied version of the future back on track, normally by having the interfering factor destroyed in some manner. In Orican's predictions, the Imperial Navy dockyards of Helios 6 should never have survived the onset of War Skullcrack, and did so only by inconvenient intervention by the meddlesome Silver Skull's 4th Company. By retroactively arranging for the Space Marines to be ambushed and nearly wiped out by Necron forces some weeks earlier, Orican ensured that the destruction of Helios 6 ultimately occurred as first foreseen. Thus were the Necrons able to reclaim much of the surrounding sector, and more importantly, thus was Orokin's reputation kept intact. Orokin has always been sparing of such actions, and rightly so, for his meddling can birth all manner of unforeseen events. As a direct result of the Helios 6 affair, no less than 5 Space Marine chapters, including the Death Spectres, Howling Griffins, and the remainder of the Silver Skulls, descended upon the Lazar system to take revenge, ultimately destroying the tomb world from whence Orokin's original commission had come. In that case, Orokin's culpability in the disaster remained secret, but it could have easily gone otherwise. Orokin takes great care to keep his machinations hidden from his peers. Though chronomancy is a science practiced by many other crypteks, no other is remotely capable of Orokin's feats, something that would increase 100-fold the suspicion in which he is held. And suspicion is the last thing Orokin needs at this moment. 1,000 millennia of planning and preparation are about to come to fruition. Once the stars are in the proper alignment, Orokin can finally embrace his true destiny. His physical form will become a vessel for impossible celestial energies, making him a shining being of terrible power. And the temporal traps he has set throughout the galaxy will activate. And, like a spider pulling at its web, Orokin will manipulate the skein of time itself to his advantage. End quote. Such a stark and simple description of them, almost blasé in its outlining by Games Workshop, but as ever, this is where we, the fans, can and must flesh out the topic and take their meagre notes, and let our minds and imaginations take flight, as was always intended. Thus do I make very simple extrapolations. The Cryptek is a being that was able to invent and then upkeep weapons that were used to destroy the C'tan themselves. The C'tan I will go into in more detail very soon, but they were the most powerful beings that this galaxy and setting have ever known. Yet the Necrons bested them, shattered them, brought them low, then enslaved them. This act alone should make the races of today shudder and prepare to bend the knee. But this is not the end, it is merely the beginning. Caesarus has the ability to perform the biotransference on any number of beings. He would not usually lower himself to do so unless in dire need, or directed by a Necron Lord he could not refuse, who are very few indeed. Yet he retains the ability to replenish the Necron ranks at any time. He is also on the verge of apotheosis, a fearsome entity indeed. Orokin is an astromancer, but he is not the only one. He is also a chronomancer, as we have heard. Yet again, he is not the only one. He is thus perhaps the most talented. The Necron ability to control time itself can never be underestimated, and gives just the smallest glimpse of the wonders and terrors they could unleash on the galaxy if they were pushed or directed to do so. The technology, the wonders that the Necrons control through their Crypteks will be able to defeat any adversary. Their control and understanding of what they call Noctilith, that which the Imperium savants call Blackstone, means that they can be almost immune to the power of the warp, can shut off entire regions as space to its effects, and ward from the power of even the mightiest of psychers. They can set the future, they can change it, they can see the past, they can visit it, if they so wished. And before anyone mentions temporal breaches and loops of causality, the Warhammer world is already replete with paradoxes. This is no boundary to them, or the setting. And this is all just one of their arcane arts. Let that sink in. One. Now, I will not reveal the totality of my awe and terror at this knowledge. For that, I will await until my next Necron video, which will be coming very soon. It should be well worth the wait, though. I've been Baldermort, your faithful servant. I hope you enjoyed my introduction to the Crypteks. If you did, then please consider liking and subscribing. If you are a regular gentle listener, then please do consider supporting us on Patreon. And, most importantly, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.